Hello and welcome to the July 2024 issue of the Zavitz and Sykora Financial Strategies video newsletter. Thank you for tuning in and listening to our update. I'm your advisor, Greg Sykora, and joined with me today is my partner, Mark Zavitz. Today, we're going to focus on talking to you about improvements we want to make to your portfolio over the next 3 to 4 months by making some changes and using some cost-effective product to hopefully get you even better performance. So let's get started. So, what we plan on doing for you and for all clients is called rebalancing. Rebalancing means, in some cases, changing or rejigging some of the products we use, as well as taking gains. To do that, Mark and I need to call every client and we need to have a conversation with you, which means that you should be expecting a call. And that means that Kathy, Mel, Mark, and I are going to have a few hundred hours of work ahead of us over the next 3 to 4 months as we implement these changes. But why are we making these changes? Well, the McKenzie and the IA product inside your portfolios, well, they've performed well. But the issue, and primarily this comes down to the fact that they're actively managed, is that they're very expensive. This is what the asset managers charge to run their respective portfolios. You can see the percentage that comes off in terms of fees. McKenzie monthly income is 0.91%. The Green Chip Fund runs at 1.07, and the Loomis Global Allocation Fund runs around a 1.04%. And for these actively managed funds in your portfolio, they've done extremely well so far. Primarily, the one that's been carrying the weight here has been the IA Loomis Global Allocation Fund, because that fund is up as a balanced fund in low to medium risk. It's up over 20%. It's basically a balanced tech fund. But what Mark and I are recommending for all clients is that we move out of these expensive, actively managed products and we use a more efficient product through a provider called dimensional funds. Now, there are some other reasons why we think this is a good move for all clients, aside from just fees. And when we call you, we can talk to you about it. But honestly, that's probably one of the main drivers here. We think that dimensional funds, bottom line, are going to do better than the McKenzie IA Loomis funds over the long run. And so here is a list of what we plan on replacing the McKenzie and the IA inside your portfolios with. So some of the balance funds, depending on your risk profile. And if we look at the all-in fees, this will be a fee savings going from McKenzie and IA to dimensional of between 0.5 to 0.75%. So the dimensional funds are 0.5 to 0.75% less expensive than the McKenzie and the IA funds. We use class F. So going from 1 to 0.32% for clients, that's how we come up with that fee savings. And the other change that we'd like to make, of course, where it makes sense, and depending on your individual situation, and we'll have a conversation with you about that, is switching out of the McKenzie MCon or MBAL or MGROW ETF that makes up about 40 to 50% of everybody's portfolio and rotating it into the Franklin Templeton ETF portfolio. One of the main drawbacks to holding MCon, MBAL, MGROW ETF is that on our system, when it pays a dividend, which it does on a quarterly basis, unfortunately, we can't automatically reinvest that cash back into the ETF. Because we're advisors, it has to be done on a manual basis, which is what we've been doing for all clients for the past 2 years since we've been holding that position for you. But that means that, unfortunately, there's a bit of cash drag in your portfolio. So there's a 1 or a 2% weighting in your portfolio that's only making about a 1% return. The Franklin Templeton ETF, which has nearly identical performance to the MBAL, MCon, MGROW positions in your portfolio, will fix that problem. And for most of your accounts, if you do have a cash drag, you won't have that cash drag anymore when we make this switch. And finally, The last thing we need to do for all clients is trim some of their gold position. Mark, you've been an advocate for holding gold as a weighting in everyone's portfolio. And for every client, most clients hold a 5 to 10% allocation. Can you talk to us about gold's performance and why it's been doing so well?
Sure, Greg. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I personally have been a big supporter for the really not. It's not for the performance. It's for the diversification. So I have personally owned bullion for well over a decade, probably quite a bit longer. And I like it in my portfolio. I like it in our clients' portfolio because it's very unique and it's one of the last true diversifiers. So, but what over the last 12 months, we've been very fortunate. Gold's up 20%. There's a lot of reasons why it's up, but certainly in the last 6 months, I think the main driver is a weak US dollar and the fact that bond yields are finally starting to come down.
Yeah.
And you know when bonds fall and corporations and governments earn less to hold short-term bonds and short-term cash, then they start to look at gold as an alternative. And so all the central banks are increasing their balance sheets, more exposure to gold. Anyways, there's all kinds of reasons, but
Yeah.
because it's gone up 20% in the last year, we need to trim it. And so everyone should expect a call. There'll be some, there'll be a discussion with some clients because there are tax issues. But for clients with tax-free accounts and RSPs and RIFs, we're going to want to trim the gold position and rebalance into something else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good idea. Well, of course, maintain a gold position there, but rebalancing is extremely important, and especially for a concentrated asset class that since, it's been 2, 3 years since we added this gold position, it's up 20% in the last year. For some clients, it's up closer to 30, 35%. So they're due for a trim, due for capturing some of the gain.
Yeah, Greg, it's always good. This rebalancing thing, and I mean, you're kind of doing the rebalancing with the IA tech position too,
Yeah.
right? That's a similar thing. When something's up 20, 30% in a short period of time, it maybe doesn't feel right. Sometimes it's like, well, hey, I should keep that asset class. That's when you have your greed hat on. But really, what you want to do is trim it. It's always nice to take profits and rebalance in something that's hasn't done quite as well, because what's going to follow is better performance in that underperforming asset class.
That's a great way of putting it. Exactly. And that's also a reason why, we wanted to buy something with IA, with tech, about 2, 3 years ago when I first got started, predominantly because we were in the midst of a tech bear market. Tech was down 30, 40%. And what has preceded that bear market is obviously a tech bull market, a bull run that started October of 2022. And some individual tech stocks are up 80, 90% already. It's crazy. And so I'm not fully convinced that we want to be overweight tech, which is what most clients were for a short period for the last 2, 3 years. I think a more neutral approach, we get quite a bit of that tech exposure inside of the asset allocation ETFs already that we use, an asset allocation product. So we're not fully moving away from it, but we are moving away from an expensive active strategy that was targeting tech and putting it with something that is more broadly diversified. And so I think in the long run, that more broadly diversified product through DFA, dimensional fund advisors, it's just, we made a short-term tactical call. It's just going to perform substantially better, substantially better. This is where we aim to get all clients, or most of our clients, that have all of their accounts with Investia or dealership from a fee standpoint. And, for clients with $1 million, that means they're all in fee. which includes product, it includes service fee, taxes, and everything is going to be just over 1%. From my experience, having served advisors in a previous role that I was in before buying the business from Mark, that means that we're going to be saving clients when compared to other advisors in the area somewhere between 0.5% to 1%, because most advisors in the area for a client around $1 million, all in the fee is around 1.5% to 2%. So that just means that our clients are going to keep more of their return and get hopefully better long-term returns. And with that, this is our disclaimer. That ends our monthly recording. I hope everyone that tuned in enjoyed it, and thank you so much. Expect a call from Mark and I over the next month. Have a good upcoming month of August, and we look forward to our next monthly update for you at the end of August. Thank you and take care.
Have a good summer, everyone. Have a good August.